Okay, so when you get into your honors math notebook, you're going to log into honors math. You go to the general tab. Then you're going to click more class notebook. Is everybody there? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Not yet. Roaming. Okay, so the notebook, the first few times you log in, it's going to load for a really long time. And that's because there's a lot of content already in there. So it's trying to download everything I sent you this past weekend, okay? So if it takes a while, just relax, keep going out and in, and eventually I promise it will come. It just takes a long time, so don't panic. So once you're in, my screen looks different than yours. So yours is going to have these tabs as well. You have your welcome, collaboration, content library. Yours is not going to say teacher only. Yours is going to say your name. So you're going to click on your name. I go to teacher only. And you're going to find Fibonacci sequence. So everybody look for Fibonacci sequence. So mine's right here. Okay. This is your very first algebra project. So it is a little out there and a little funky, but super cool. Okay, so it's a mathematical phenomenon, which means that people can't really explain it. We've tried to. There's not an explanation really. People have tried to use Fibonacci sequence to prove whether or not God exists. Okay, they say that it's God's fingerprint or the mathematical way that we prove God's existence. So it'll give you a little bit of chills. It's a little weird, but super cool. So it's my favorite project. It's really not hard at all. There's nothing that's going to be super difficult about this project. It's just a lot of thinking and getting to understand what the purpose of algebra is. Okay, so the main purpose of algebra is patterns. So we're going to talk about that first. So if you go here, you're going to go to MYP Unit 1. Okay, so everybody click on MYP Unit 1. And we're going to, this MYP, the first Unit 1, is called Patterns in Algebra. Okay, so for patterns in algebra, our global context is going to be identities and relationships. Okay. Then we have our exploration is going to be transitions. So in math, as you take a number and you transition through doing the math on and on and on, it's going to create some sort of relationship or connection between those numbers. The connections that are made, that's the algebra. Okay. It's the pattern. Algebra is just figuring out a pattern like y equals mx plus b. That formula works, right? Every time we have the slope and our starting or our initial value, which is our y-intercept, it follows and makes the mathematical pattern y equals mx plus b. That's all algebra is. It's just figuring out a pattern. So we're going to talk about equivalence. So when you take a pattern and you change it, and you change the number again, and you change the number again, as we're changing the number each time, is that equivalent or not? Okay, if we change something and we can get back to the beginning and go back to the end and flip back and forth, is that equivalence that's created, is it really an equal number, or is it just a pattern that creates a relationship? Our statement of inquiry is establishing patterns can help understand transitional relationships in the natural world. So I'm going to show you real algebraic patterns in the natural world. I'm going to show you it in art. I'm going to show you in music, okay, how math relates to music. I'm going to show you how math relates to a pine cone, okay, and how they're all created. We're going to learn how to research because you're going to be looking up Fibonacci sequence, and you're going to really have to think, okay? You're not thinking mathematically. The math is easy, okay? It's not the math. It's understanding the pattern, the deeper inquiry. So our questions of inquiry, which you're going to answer at the end of this unit, right before you submit, and you can actually answer them right on here. So you'd click draw, and then you'd answer them, and I'll give you time, just like I did last year, to answer them during class. So you're going to answer, what is a transitional relationship? That's our factual question. How do you represent equivalent relationships? So if I'm going to show something's equal, how could that be represented? And then the last one is debatable. Do rules define patterns, or do patterns define the rules? Okay, so are rules creating a pattern, Or the other way, do patterns create the rule? Okay, and so then you'd be able to answer that question. Anybody have a question about what we're doing? Okay, so let's go back to Fibonacci sequence. Okay, and I just want you to scroll down. Okay, so this is the whole project. You're just going to be able to write, okay, write directly on the screen. You don't need to do much. All right, it's just filling out this worksheet almost as your project. At the bottom, you're designing your own. This paragraph, you cannot probably fit it over here, so I would just write it off to the side, okay, with your stylus. That's going to be the only part that there's just not enough room to answer those questions. The proof, okay, so anytime you don't have room, you could just write off to the side or continue it into the blank space. A bibliography, because we're learning how to research, so we'll learn how to write a correct bibliography. And then we're not going to present it this year on a poster board, so you can just cross this out. Okay, so go ahead, cross out, prepare a booklet or a poster board. We're just going to answer it directly on the worksheet this year. Yes?
None of my images have loaded.
Yeah.
Okay, just wait a minute, I promise they'll load. So it just takes a really long time. You can go out and go back in, but wait. I think Peter's yours finally loaded, right?
Yeah.
It just took like literally 10 minutes. So don't worry about it. You don't need it for today. You're not writing anything today. It's an at-home project. So here we go. Here's our grading rubric. So these are super important. You can't submit a project unless you've read how I'm grading it, right? So the very first thing I suggest you do before you even start the project is read how I'm grading it. Where do you start reading? Do I start at the bottom, at level 0, or where should I start reading a rubric?
6 through 8.
6 through 8. So the bottom, we want, or 7 and 8. We want to know what it takes to get the A, right? Does anyone remember what a 7 represents? What grade is a 7?
90.
90%. Great job, Anthony. So what grade is an 8?
Is 100?
100, okay? And then when it drops down here, anyone remember what a 6 is?
A 6 is an 80. Or no, yeah. Wait, no.
What percentage is a 6?
6 is an 80%.
Is an 80, close.
5?
It's an 85. Okay, so this is the A's. These are the A's, and these are the B's. You can think of it that way. These are the C's, D's, and I'm concerned for you at that point. Okay, we're not even gonna worry. I've never given a 0 to you guys ever. But usually we're between 5, 6, 7, 8. So read them. Read the difference, okay? All right, so now after you've read your rubric at home, you're gonna go back up to the very, very top. And there are some videos up here. So this is what I'm going to be showing you all class period today. We're going to be talking about Fibonacci sequence through some of the videos. A lot of today is just watching, listening, and learning. Okay, so we may pause the video and just talk for a few minutes, but other than that, we're going to just watch the video. The first thing I'd like you to answer is go ahead and write. So you need to click the drawing tool. Did this come up for everyone? Not yet? Okay, so if it is up for you, if it's not, that's okay, wait till it's up. I just want you to look at it and tell me what the pattern is. So find the pattern and write it down. You can close your iPad back and lay the iPad down to write. It's a lot easier, I think. So especially with math, like leaning over it like real paper makes it very easy. If it's still not up, why don't you try to log out and log back in? Yes.
Are we allowed to type it?
Yes, please do whatever you want. Write, type, yes.
My Wi-Fi isn't connected, and it hasn't been connected
For the past 5 minutes? Okay, I'll get you help in 1 second. All right, I'm gonna pause this video. Bye, distance learners.